Hi YouTube! Today I'm going to share a bit of a failure of a face-up with you. But before we get into the details of the failure, let me get some details of the doll out of the way. This doll is a ball-jointed doll from the company Harucasting. She is a Nani sculpt in the colour Nani Choco and is part of my personal collection. This doll was given to me by the sculptor as part of a promotional giveaway on Instagram, but you can purchase her when she's open for pre-orders by following Harucasting on Instagram so you know when they'll be happening. Go follow him, he is a wonderfully generous artist and deserves so much love. The eyes Nani wears are a pair of custom urethane eyes from the artist Citrus Skull, who I definitely recommend you check out and commission if you ever need eyes for your BJD. She not only is an absolute sweetheart, but she is an absolute pleasure to work with, and she makes such wonderful eyes. Finally, her wig is an alpaca wig made by me. Okay, with the housekeeping out of the way, let's discuss the sad failure of dear Nani's face-up. Well, actually, it didn't start out as that much of a failure. As you can see, the preliminary blushing around the cheeks and lips and the initial eyeliner turned out pretty well. In addition, I was trying a method of applying a pale, fleshy toned pastel to her eyes and lips as a base for colour later to make them a little more purer and a little less desaturated, which happens when applying colours to dark resin. So that turned out okay, and I was pretty confident in my start of this face-up. Good effort, Sarah! Since this particular pair of tweezers are really sharp and I often routinely stab my fingers with them, I do sometimes use them to pull out flecks of dust from the sealant and continue to build colours on the face. That went pretty well enough that I was comfortable to move on to painting the lines and the creases around her lips without restarting. You can see there was some leftover sealant in the creases of her lips and inside her nose, and the paint and pastels got rid of that really easily. After about 5 layers of pastel, you can start to see the problem arising. So the white pastel worked pretty well for making the pink of her eyeshadow more pink and less red, and you could really see how different the eyes and the lips are, even between each other, but especially when compared to the cheeks. But in my effort to keep the dust and debris out of her face, I think I inadvertently made it much worse, which it's plain to see by all the white specks on her face. So let me explain. I was trying to keep the dust off her face since I knew it might show up more prominently on her darker resin, and to do that I made a sort of makeshift spray booth using an old container, which was a Ferrero Rocher box. It was a nice size for storing 1 or 2 heads upside down while they were drying, and I satisfactorily used it to keep resin pieces free of dust while they were curing, so honestly I thought I had a really winning idea. I was really confident. But I decided to do something a bit different, thinking I was just being so clever and so smart so that I wouldn't accidentally touch or bump the wet sealant when I was putting the doll's head in. Basically, I just turned the box upside down. I placed the head on the inside of the lid. Then I sprayed a coat of sealant and put the top of the box back on to let the sealant dry. And that was it. That was the only thing I did differently to other face-ups. And this was the first time I'd had such big noticeable specks of dust on a face-up I've done. I'm sure other face-ups have had little specks here or there, but I've usually noticed them and they were easily removed with a knife or my tweezers. But the magnitude of dust on this face was just... it was something else. I was honestly really upset since so much of the pastel work had already gone into doing this face-up, and I was really satisfied with it. I think the problem was spraying into the bottom of the box and then putting the lid over it caused any dust that was sitting on the bottom of the box to get kicked up into the air, and obviously with no way out of the box it just landed square on the face. I also think that there's a possibility that the sealant itself was solidifying slightly in the air or attaching onto dust pieces and then becoming way more noticeable as that settled into the face. And I think once I noticed how prominent it was, I really started to struggle with the face up. I struggled not only to get the position of the eyebrows right, but also their colour, the shape and crispness of the eyeliner, the eyelashes. I normally like adding a lot of creases, not just above the eyes, but below them, since I think that gives a doll a layer of realism without being too invasive, but I couldn't manage even that. Like, the frustration at the dust was definitely peeking into my work. But still, I persevered, thinking it wouldn't be too much of a bother for me, and thinking that since it's my own face up on my own doll, I'd consider it a learning opportunity. So I started to try and add these little swirl details on the cheeks, which I really wanted her to have, since I thought it would be a nice cute contrast against her nice dark skin. And you can see I started sketching the shapes with a white pencil before going in with the white watercolour paint. I really like using watercolour paint for the majority of my line work, since it comes off nice and easy if I happen to make a mistake. I also tried to draw those swirls 128 times, but they never looked symmetrical. Eventually I give up on them. At this point, I took some acetone to the face and removed a layer of sealant, not only to get rid of those horrible eyebrows, but to try and remove some of the dust. Doing this leaves the top layers of sealant shiny, but the layer of sealant that you put on afterwards will push this shininess back, and by the time you've finished the face up, she'll be nice and matte and pretty again. Here I was adding more pink to the under eyes since they'd gone a little dark from the grey. I also added lines to the lips, again using watercolour to keep it easy on myself in case I make mistakes. I blend the lines on the lips in with a few layers of pastel as well, so they're not so harsh. Again, I tried to use grey for the eyebrows. I think one of the problems here was that it's not my usual brand of pastels, so I struggled a lot. And of course, I hadn't figured out by this point that the box was the thing causing the dust on my face, so I was still using it like an idiot. I couldn't get the consistency of the paint right to make fine lines like I wanted either. It was always either too thick or too watery, and it never hit that nice in between. The good thing about using watercolor paints is you can see I'm selectively erasing eyelashes that don't look fine enough. Again, I was set on those spirals. I thought they looked so cute, so I spent ages trying to get the one on her left cheek to match the one on her right, and it was just a constant battle of painting and erasing and painting and erasing. And now I have a new desk, which is why everything looks different. And it's actually much easier to see the problems and the dust and just everything wrong with this Faceup. I decided to go with little dots on the cheeks because of, well, in addition to driving me insane, the swirls ended up being really overwhelmingly big on her face. And this is the final result. I'm not happy, and I am. I think everything looks super cute. I definitely love the colors and the blushing work and her cute little lips, but I'll be damned if those eyebrows aren't tragic. And the dust, oh my god, the dust, it's horrid. I think it's good to share failure, so I hope you take something away from this. At the very least, you know, if you're going to spray into a box, make sure it actually has a filter fan. I'll definitely redo her face in a few weeks when looking at it doesn't make me want to cry. But that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed my sad little ramble. Press that like button to pay respects to Nani, she definitely needs it. Subscribe so you can see in a few weeks when I actually redo her face up and see if I can do it a lot better. Thanks for watching so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!